All right. So our country likes to make laws like drug laws and prostitution laws and prohibition and can't buy alcohol between 11:30 on Saturday night and 12:30 on Sunday morning for some reason, but you can buy it 24 hours the rest of the week.
Right.
You know, stupid stuff like that to limit temptation for people.
Okay.
So what do you think about all that?
All right. I don't know if it's actually trying to limit temptation. I think it's trying, okay, we can get into the alcohol thing here in a second, but I think a lot of the others are actually trying to protect people.
Okay.
And so, in other words, like, it's not like, like you brought the prostitution one. I think it's actually not as much about the temptation to engage in prostitution as it is to try to protect individuals from entering into that lifestyle and being caught up in it and enslaved into it. So for me, I think it's more of a protection of. But if they had
cocaine and prostitutes at Walmart, more people would be tempted to get cocaine and prostitutes.
Sure. And I was going to say the drug thing too, right? I think the thing with drugs is that you're trying to protect people. Okay. So I think it's more of a protection mechanism of individual life. Okay.
Okay.
And
should I have picked something different?
No. I think it's fine. Now the one with alcohol is interesting because because we do have histories in our country of like trying to just shut the whole thing down, right? Yeah. And I do think that largely has been driven at times by especially in the South here in the church going alcohol bad, evil, and that's the way it's framed. And so
so this is trying to limit temptation.
I do think
that's
so.
Why this one's different than the other two.
I do think so.
Okay.
Although in saying that, I do think also it is an attempt, like for example, we have a minimum age of drinking, right? And I do think that is in place to try to protect people, right?
Okay.
Trying to protect individuals, young people from, being, and we know it doesn't work, right? I mean, we know individuals that when you're in high school or you're in you're in college or you're just a young adult or you're not 21 yet, like getting alcohol is not hard, right? Being around people with alcohol, that's not hard, right? And so that's a reality, okay? So that's there. And so I think that, but I do think what it's an attempt to do is to say, hey, we do not want people to do things that they're not mentally or emotionally may prepared to engage with. But I also understand the other side of the argument, for example, of someone going, well, yeah, but you're saying they're emotionally and mentally ready to go off to war at 18.
Right.
So like, I'm not here to debate the minimum age thing of alcohol. All I'm saying is I think there's the reasons for like minimum age. I think there is a protection mechanism in that, but not that I'm saying that it's been thought out in the most completely solid logical way, but I do think that's the intent behind it. Okay. And so but I do think that especially here in the South there is a huge part of it that is also connected to we want that temptation of alcohol removed,
because we used to have like no sodomy laws everywhere, and no sex before marriage laws, and stuff like that. Like, you think all that's bad because that's trying to deter me from the temptation to do that, right? Isn't that about temptation?
Yeah, and I think it's trying to probably
that's trying to make the consequences of doing those things worse, so that I'm not as tempted to do them.
And I think an attempt to really kind of instill, and of course we won't, as a country, we do have biblical values and morals,
vice laws. That's what these are, right?
Yeah. And so we do have biblical morals and values that govern a lot of what we do, the way we handle certain things, But I do think there's a lot of things that it's like you're trying to legislate morality,
Right.
By saying, hey, these are the laws like, these things to us are sin, therefore we want there to be laws against them.
Okay.
And and that works on some on bigger scale things, like we think murder's a sin, therefore we need to have laws against murder, right? Like no one's arguing taking a life should be allowed, right? I mean, yeah, you know, and so, and I understand there's self-defense and that kind of stuff, but we understand murder is not okay. But I do think there has obviously been at times the attempt to bring in through legislation these moral types of things, that, like you're talking the vice laws, and if you look at like state laws, you know, and especially in the South, like
some of them are still wacky,
and some are still crazy because they've not been cleaned out. But like, you know, you look back at, you know, over the course of the history of our states, like we've had some really crazy laws,
like living together before you're married and stuff like that.
Yeah, all those kind of things. And so I do think that I think some of them are okay, depending on what they are. Like again, like the bigger ones, but not. I think we have to allow kind of the same thing, like the freedom of free choice and free will. I think we have to allow that. You know,
within the law,
in the law, within, obviously we have to have law and order, right? I mean, we're trying to function as a state, you know, as a country. You got to have law and order, so we have to have some parameters of what that looks like. So we're inevitably going to legislate some things in, and so I think probably we try to legislate the things in that are trying to protect individuals from physical harm. And try to protect things from, like, we want to protect our minors, our children.
I think the murder thing, though, is just the state has to protect its own citizens.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, it's not a state.
Well, 100%. 100%.
If it has no people.
Right.
So,
yeah, spewing it out there, just knocking off everybody. Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Okay. There's a difference between me living with someone before I'm married or drinking and killing somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's where you draw distinctions.
Yeah, I think, right.
Like we're allowed to, the government's not necessary, because I guess the government's not necessarily legislating morality when it doesn't want you to kill its citizens. It's just preserving its own existence.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. It's not as much of a moral thing as it's like a protection thing.
Right.
Protecting people against bodily harm and those kind of things. Like protecting children.
But you could even
minors.
say it's not even designed for that. It's designed to make it needs people to exist for it to be relevant. Sure,
in its most,
so it's got its own interest.
Right. Right, in its most rudimentary levels. Right. But I guess because our country does have a biblical, you know, or at least a Judeo-Christian worldview in its founding, right? Like we see these things through a moral lens often.
Right.
Yeah.
But you don't have to see it that way.
But you don't have to see it that way to just see it as the objective good of the state.
But prohibition's just moral.
Right.
Like we're not,
Right. Unless the state perceived it as this issue that was going to crumble the state.
Right.
Because it had become such a massive issue.
Right.
Right. And then at that point, you probably would legislate it.
Right.
Right. And you may even do it under the guise of morals when you're really but you're really just trying to say we can't have everybody just becoming alcoholics and and the state collapsing from within.
The alcohol one's so easy because we still have the laws, some of them.
Right.
Like you have to last call at this time, and at the football game you can't buy it in fourth quarter.
Right.
And we make all, you know what I'm saying? We make all these things around it. Like how far should that go?
Yeah. Well, and and I think that
is that Christian? Are those Christian reasons that those exist, or is that?
I think that's what I'm saying. I think historically they have been.
Okay.
Right.
And they just still are that way.
They still are that way, and some of them will view it still through the Christian lens, and others will not.
It seems like in Georgia, they don't want you to get drunk on Saturday so you can make it to church on Sunday morning.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I think
which
you said,
seems religious.
No one's going to argue that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, and I think it's,
or at least where we are. I don't know if it's different other places.
Right, and I think it's interesting because,
maybe people are going to know what county I'm in now.
Right. Well, but I think too, like, I mean, this was like, I mean, there's still, well, I'm getting to like there are still, like groups of individuals, whether it's fraternities or whatever, that they still have like a moral code of like, right. We won't drink on Sundays. Right. Plastered on Saturday. Fine.
Yep.
But we're not going to drink on Sundays.
Yep.
You know, and they still will hold to
and
that.
Sunday starts at 6 a.m.
Correct.
Sunday.
Correct.
We're drinking till then.
We're drinking till then. But there is, and I laugh about it, but it's actually, I mean, it's a real thing. Like that's like, there's like these moral codes that are still in existence.
And then they sleep it off for 3
right,
hours.
And it's not like they're
and then take up 5 rows in some church with their cargo pants on, all hungover. We're going to church.
Everybody get up.
Yeah.
And I laugh about that. I've seen this happen, play out in real life. And my point being is like that moral code actually goes back to like a religious viewpoint, a Christian viewpoint of Sundays, we need to quote unquote be good, you know, and it is interesting how still to this day those things exist in our country, and I think you'll never root out completely that Judeo-Christian, you know, framework that's within us, or fabric or foundational points that are within us. So
do you think it's worth, like where we are right now with the alcohol laws and the drug laws, like, is it worth fighting for a direction of it, or should we just like, what do you like?
Yeah,
I don't. I guess I just don't get it. Like, which way should I, as a Christian, be fighting for, or should we leave it alone?
Right, and just
leave them all alone where they are right now, and just say that's how it is. Yeah, because there's people that fight either direction, and do we as Christians have a?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard because, like, I mean, as a
should I be able to buy cocaine at Walmart?
Right, like no, like I'm just gonna say no.
Okay,
like, I think
why? Because you're trying to limit me being tempted to buy cocaine at Walmart.
Well, because, and I guess this goes back to the idea of just like physical harm, right?
Okay.
Like for me, I have seen. I have seen too many individuals' lives get wrecked because of addiction to things like coke, meth, you know, opioids, whatever it is. Like, and so I do think there has to be. This kind of goes back to the state protecting its citizens. Like, there has to be some form of a legislation of we've got to protect our citizens.
Okay,
and so
that stuff's all worse than alcohol.
Yeah, well, and this is the hard thing too, right? Because I've seen lives destroyed by alcohol, but then you've also, I mean, we know tons of people that drink socially and it not affect them, right? It's just, I do think there is a difference between the individual that is, you know, had a drink or two and that is able to handle that and maintain that, right? But I mean, you know, one hit of meth, like you're like that, you're not okay, you know?
Yeah.
And so there are, like, we have to be honest about the differences between, you know, substances.
Okay.
And so I think that's an important thing. And I do think there's a reason that, you know, we do have laws that say, hey, if you get caught, you know, driving under the influence, there's consequences for it, right?
Okay.
Like,
because we're trying to protect citizens.
Trying to protect citizens. Like, those things are, you know, those things are in place for a reason. That's good. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So people that argue from a moral standpoint on most of the laws that we have right now aren't really arguing on a basis of morality, except other than the state's morality of wanting to keep as many of its citizens alive as possible.
Yeah, I mean,
is that more where we're at now than we used to be?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I mean, obviously, in the Christian, you know, in the Christian world, in our Christian ethos, like, we're going to be like, no, like, those, like, anything that can, like, those substances, not good, right? Like, that's, like, we're going to have that position.
Like, it's too highly addictive and you completely destroy your life, and then you're a drain on society, and then we have to help you.
Or not even drain on society, we have to help you. Just stop before that. Like, you've ruined your life. Like, you're ruining who God has created you to be, right? Like you are destroying the image of God within you if you were, like, and that for me as a Christian, that's enough. Like, I don't need the other things added on to that. Like, just there. And so because we do
from the government's perspective.
From the government's perspective, absolutely. We don't want you to be a drain on society.
Right. Okay.
I say that, right? Like because the government's sometimes they try to play it both ways.
Yeah.
I mean, like, let's call it for what it is.
Yeah.
Right. Like keeping people poor and keeping people addicted in drugs to a degree,
so that
is big business, even for the government.
Right.
And so I feel like they try to play it both sides, and I'm not too cool with that. Like,
all right, so let's get mad at the people on the other side instead of the Christians not letting me buy alcohol at 11:30 at night on Saturday.
Right. Right. There's not enough Christians doing that.
Right.
I mean, to warrant. I mean, not to warrant it, but enforcing that.
Right.
So yeah.